Hi everyone, it's Dikshit from the PAMG team. Today we have a very special guest, Dr. Nishel, an incoming PGY1 neurology resident. Welcome, doctor, and congratulations on your match once again.
Hi everyone, I'm Nishel. I'm an incoming PGY1 at Dartmouth, which is in New Hampshire. And I did my med school in Jawaharlal Nehru Medical College in Belgaum, and super thrilled to be here.
Yeah, great. So starting with my first question, can you brief us a bit about your USMLE timeline and when did you give your step 1 and step 2 exams?
First, so I took some time off from my internship towards the latter end to study for my step 1. And I think close to like 5 months, if I had to put a number on it.
Yeah.
And after which I spent some time applying for electives and stuff like that. And during that time, I was preparing for my step 2 as well.
Great.
Then I went on to do my electives, during which I was also studying for step 2. And I think my dedicated for step 2 was close to like 3 weeks, I think, if I had to put a number on it.
Okay.
And that was my whole timeline. Also, guys, ECFMG certification, super confusing process. So,
Exactly.
leave some time out before you apply for the ECFMG certification, because for your college degree to be verified it's a lot of process. So I would say be aware of that when you incorporate it into your timeline, because I got to know about it much later and I freaked out and I did like some last minute blunders and super last minute, I got my ECFMG certification, I think 2 days before I had to apply. So, factor in the time for all of the paperwork, because all of that stuff is never going to be in your hands. So, factor in time for that.
Plus, it takes a lot of time for the college sides as well, the administration.
Yeah, exactly. So get your administration on your side. I was always like best friends with all the clerks. I'm like, taking sweets for them. I'm like, please get my work done. I beg of you.
Right.
So factor in all of those things depending on your college, depending on, how long you think your administrative work is going to take. So factor in all of that stuff. And get in your letters of recommendation, or at least say 15 days before you want to apply, get them uploaded onto the portal, because last minute can be super stressful, especially trying to get to doctors from India.
Right.
I mean, from the US while you're in India is like a task. So yeah.
So now, doctor, talk to me about being a second generation doctor in your family. How do you think it has an impact in your home, and how do you think it's been in choosing your desired branch? How it has impacted you?
My dad's a cardiologist, and I always knew I wanted to do internal medicine. Like in India, neurology is post internal medicine.
Exactly.
So I knew I wanted to either get into neurology or cardiology, because I like vessels and blood, and an exciting emergency field is what I wanted. And I know the struggles of it. Yeah. And I know the struggles of it because my dad is also in an emergency branch, but I can't imagine myself doing anything else. So it's fun. My dad and I keep having constant quarrels amongst ourselves between which one's better, neurology or cardiology. So it's always really entertaining. But I'm really glad I had his support, because in so many periods of he could understand what I was going through, and I feel I'd not have to explain much to him, and he just knew what I was going through. So that was really comforting.
Right. So now coming to my mainstream question, how many publications did you have when you applied? What was your research status, and how do you recall your first research experience?
Yeah, so I have to be honest, compared to a general applicant, my CV wasn't stellar. It wasn't where I wanted it to be. And so I had close to 3 publications that were submitted at the time of the applications, and 1 that was published. 1 was published in cardiology in a journal in India. The other 2 of them were submitted at Curious, and 1 was submitted at MDPI. So these 3 were related to neurology, and 1 was related to neuropsych. So close to 4 publications that I submitted. So for everyone who's super worried, research publications take a really long time to come. So there is a section in your CV in ERAS where you can write the submitted but not published. So there are multiple categories.
Yeah, exactly.
So don't worry if your research doesn't get published by the time you apply in September. It's completely all right. And programs understand, research process is really they go through multiple drafts, and it's a huge process. So, don't
Right.
stress too much about it.
Yeah. And your first research experience, how was it like? Like, how did you approach?
Yeah. Yeah, it was a bit overwhelming. I'm not gonna lie, because I in general don't like statistics. So
Nobody likes that.
yeah, nobody really likes statistics. So it was definitely a bit overwhelming. But like I said, I met a group of people and we were able to figure it out together. So some people are good at this, some people are good at that. So I, was in like table making and like, methods and stuff like that. So
Yeah,
overwhelming. So if you can get a research course to just get a dive into it, or if you can find mentors in your particular med schools
yeah,
who can help
exactly.
you with like research, that'll be super, super great. I did not do it in med school, which is again one of my regrets. But especially the department of, if you're in India, department of PSM usually have like really good guides. So reach out to your college departments and see if any of the professors can help you with the project.
Yeah, gotcha. So now, as neurology is a very competitive branch, like rather than just focusing on step scores, how driven were you in research? So, like, my mainstream question is: was research a necessity, or did you choose it to make your CV stellar?
So yeah, the one good thing about neurology is, I think I've mentioned it earlier. Neurology, they review your application super holistically. So everyone who does neurology in the US is absolutely committed and absolutely dedicated to the specialty. So one of the ways you can show your dedication to the specialty is research.
Yeah,
So it's the easiest and the most like common way to show your dedication. But again, it's not the only one. You can tutor people in neurology. You can, I think one of my friend and I did a podcast in neurology, and stuff like that. Anything that kind of shows that you're going that extra step to show your dedication for the specialty is a
right.
good step. And all of that will be valued. Like my podcast was brought up in one of my interviews, and I had to explain the whole like 45-minute podcast in like 5-10 minutes to the interviewer. So,
Yeah.
they just want to see your degree of commitment to the specialty. And I think that can be done in a lot of ways, but research is one of the most common and the easiest ways.
Yeah, and my next follow-up question is on the same. Like, what other step or other accomplishments did you have other than research to make your CV stellar? Like,
So I had
yeah,
done a lot of like extracurriculars in my med school. Like I was kind of all over the place. So that definitely played a role. And I think in India, if you're from India, there's this organization called MSCI, if people are acquainted with that. So they have a
yeah,
lot of like conferences and like events that you can organize. So all of that work went into my volunteer work. And
right.
apart from that, we had a few conferences in our college that I was a part of the team or the organizing team. So I was able to write that stuff down as well.
Yeah,
And so, try to go like do at least a couple of volunteer experiences in med school. And I think my hobbies, like I wrote a lot about my traveling experiences and stuff like that. So that was always brought up. And, when they're looking for a candidate, especially in neurology, they want a candidate who is like, just fun to be with, because there are not that many
yeah,
candidates. There'll
right.
be like 5 people or like 6 people in a program. They want a fun person who can handle pressure. So I told them about like my solo travels, and that was always brought up. So my traveling, my scuba diving and stuff like that.
Great.
So try to pour your heart and soul into it, and your CV should reflect a part of your personality.
Yeah, right. So now, Doc, talk to me about like pandemic was indeed a difficult time for everyone, and it was no different from IMG's as well. So, what were the challenges you had to face in this time, and be it USC related or visa related, your name to it basically? How did you overcome them?
Yeah, it was not gonna lie, a bit overwhelming, especially in finding USC, because
Yeah,
I emailed so many
literally no
programs
USCs
and
were
just
available.
yeah, yeah. I would have loved to do some, just so many university electives and stuff like that. But anyone I reached out to, either I did not get a response, or they were just like, yeah, we can't really have people. So I think the one good thing and the one really bad thing that happened was I had to travel to the US in like May end, and I think May beginning they were shutting the US borders
Yeah, exactly.
from India. So I had to like prepone my tickets and like 2 days before my travel date, and I had to like do an
Damn.
emergency travel. So all of that was really, really hectic and really unplanned. But the one thing I would say is like, be adaptable. These
Yeah,
things are not in your control. and everyone is facing it. So even if you can do like tele-rotations, I ended up doing one tele-rotation. So
Right.
do tele-rotations, do whatever you can to make the best out of the situation. All your efforts will be valued. Yeah.
Perfect. So coming on to my next question is like, if there is an early applicant, like me, for example, like
Yeah.
now, especially as step one is pass fail, like did the
Yeah.
ideal timeline change for the step one or step two exams, or how is it like? Or the resources or the dedicated period? Be it anything.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. Like, I think my dad would always keep annoying me when I was in med school to like start studying for USMLE when I was in third year, but I never did
Yeah.
that. So I think with step one becoming pass or fail now, if you feel like you have the kind of time in med school, go ahead and start studying for it early. If you don't, it's not the end of the world. I don't know. Like, I did not do it. And if someone feels like they can have the time to balance med school and like, USMLE prep, go ahead with
Yeah.
it. And definitely in terms of resources, like, I think we had to go through UWorld like pretty thoroughly.
Oh,
But now you can just go through UWorld as like a first pass and, just only do like a few questions again. So I think, yeah, the timeline definitely has gotten much, much shorter because of step one becoming pass of it.
yeah. Plus,
So,
we're not saying that you don't have to study thoroughly for step one, because most of the concepts are repeated in step two exams. So don't take your
yeah,
step one lightly.
definitely don't take your step one lightly. But I think the pressure of doing incredibly well as an IMG kind of is taken away. You don't have to like always aim for a 250 now. Like that's basically what I meant. Still be thorough with all your concepts.
Exactly.
Resources usual, boards and beyonds, UWorld, dirty medicine, sketchy micro and sketchy farm, and
Again,
yeah, and NBMEs. Yeah.
NBMEs for sure. And my last question for you is, what are your future prospects in the field of neurology? Like, and what message do you have for the IMGs listening this interview?
Perfect. So I'm super excited for neurology, honestly. Like
For sure.
it's a really exciting branch. The one good thing about it is I think we're coming up with so many new therapies and it's like such an undiscovered branch. So I would want to go probably into stroke rehabilitation and like Elon Musk is doing like Neuralink, if you
Neuralink.
know about it. So, yeah, something like that, something to treat like spinal cord disorders and neuro rehabilitation. That is something I would definitely want to be involved in the future. And any IMGs applying for neuro, super exciting field, go ahead with it. It is a bit challenging because the number of programs compared to IM is much lesser. Like
Much
IM, if you have
less.
like 500 programs, neuro is like 100 programs and much lesser seats.
Correct.
But also know that your application will be reviewed super, super holistically.
Yeah.
And all the programs are really like top-notch programs because all the programs are mostly university or university affiliated. So
Exactly.
great field. Please join. And
Great, Dr.
definitely
Nishel.
start. Yeah, reach out to me if you get into neurology or if you need any advice. And do electives. Go if you can do in-person electives, do the in-person electives. If you can do research, but
Yeah.
don't stress yourself out insanely if it doesn't happen because of circumstances. That's the one thing I would say. And
Yeah.
the other thing I would say is like take the journey step by step. It can be really overwhelming. 3 exams to give, including OET,
Yeah. Plus the
step
cost factors
3.
included.
Yeah. So many, it can be really
Expenses. Yeah.
overwhelming to think of the whole journey, like the span of like 1.5 years, then interviews, and then you don't know
Yeah.
where they've gotten it. So take it one step at a time, focus all your effort on step one. Because I think on Instagram, a lot of people reached out to me and they've not even given step one. They're like, what do we do about this? What do we do about that? And I'm like, take it one step at a time. Just finish your step one.
Step
You can
one.
figure stuff out like,
Exactly.
one at a time. So take it stepwise. Otherwise, it can be really, really overwhelming as a journey.
So a perfect answer, like you summed up all the aspects together. So I'd like to thank you, Dr. Nishel, for joining us today. Really, really had a great time and wish you all the best and great success in your life.
Thank you so much, Dikshit. I'm really excited to see, since you're in first year of med school, how far you go. I'm really excited for your future prospects as well.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you, Doc.